Now, it's a grand tradition on budget days to ask what the public reaction is. We've had a government in a mess for the last few weeks and public services struggling, so has the Chancellor done anything to get the show back on the road? Emily has been in Bury today with a focus group selected for us by a small market research company. The panel was drawn from the local area and designed to be politically mixed. Some voted Conservative last time, some Labour, and some didn't vote at all. Now, these focus groups can never offer a scientific study of public sentiment, but they do offer a rich guide as to how things are playing out.
Lynnette, I'm going to come to you. You picked up a few bits and bobs. What were the things that jumped out at you?
Interesting for me was more money for the NHS. I think that's something that we really need at the moment. Also, the increase in the minimum wage. It's only a small increase, but it's helping for people in this kind of economic climate. And also, I think raising the tax thresholds. I think the basic tax threshold has gone up a little bit, and also the 40%, it's kind of gone up ever so slightly, so I think that's
You work part-time, so that's helpful for you?
Yeah, I think especially with the basic tax, I think that definitely helps along with the minimum wage. It just helps push things up a little bit. Was
anyone disappointed by what they heard today? Was there something that you were holding out for that you didn't hear?
Yes. I, overall, was impressed by the budget speech, but I did want to hear something about gambling and trying to solve this problem of addictive gambling, and I thought it was a bad opportunity missed by the Chancellor today.
Can I ask the younger ones here whether they responded to the first-time buyers announcement at all? Is that going to make a difference to your life if you don't have to pay stamp duty up to £300,000 on a house you're buying?
Yeah, I think it will help quite a lot. Obviously, as a first-time buyer, £300,000 is actually obviously quite a lot of money. But I'm looking to buy a house into the next year, and it will help quite a lot.
I find it a lot easier because it is hard now these days to save up enough deposit to put towards your first-time house and all. But the only problem is that they're saying that they are going to build more houses for us and all, but are they affordable for people like us and all? Yeah. Are they just for the more people that earn more money, you know?
It's whether they get built as well, because they've promised to build more houses before in previous budgets and never built them. Yeah. I think it was 200,000 a few years ago and they never built them.
So who doesn't believe the house building promise?
I don't believe it.
I think it's quite unrealistic for what they say.
I think they should try to free up local authorities to build. I think that would make a big impression because they would build social housing, and I don't see any route to social housing being built that has been mentioned in the budget today.
Social housing that wouldn't be privately purchased then?
Correct.
Right.
But they need to reduce the amount of bureaucracy as well.
The old council house, they were all built by the local authorities, and that's just not happened for many years now, and there's an opportunity today to do that.
Let me ask how many of you are still living with parents, or parents, how many of you have still got children living with you? Just put your hand up if that's...
I have 2 daughters and a son. They're all at one's just finished a degree, one is now a teacher, and the other one is living at home. He's at college.
And do you think this will help any of your kids buy their own homes?
I hope so. I really do hope so. For them to be able to buy their own home would be something that we'd certainly be looking for.
Adam, I know you said that you're trying to buy next year.
I just think it's not necessarily obviously they've reduced it, but I think it's the deposit's the big thing. That's the difficult thing in getting on the property ladder now.
Saskia, you're still living at home.
Yeah, I'm still living at home, and I often think that compared to some people, I think I'm quite fortunate because I never went to university and stuff, and I just think for some of my friends who are at uni and they're gonna they finish uni and they've still got so much money that they owe, and then they're going to be stuck at home for such a long time because deposits to put down on a house are just enormous.
And you would be looking to buy your own now, would you?
Yeah.
Would anything in the budget change your plans for the next year, do you think, or not yet?
I don't know all about it, but it's optimistic, to hear that they are doing something about it. They are aware that this it's a massive struggle for some people.
Well, let me pick up on that now. Who could tell me the hardest thing in their life at the moment that the budget did or didn't address? Yeah.
My mum is an Alzheimer's sufferer. Yeah. She's currently in care. She's living in a place via Valley, which is a housing trust, but she's trying to be rehomed at the moment, and the system is just collapsing. It's falling apart. And although there was mention of money for the NHS, there wasn't any specific mention of money for social care, and particularly elderly social care. And just being in that loop, I know that system is ready to collapse.
Just think more money for or being like specifically allocated for mental health. I think it's a really big issue at the moment, and I think just mental health services are really like stretched at the moment, waiting lists, and I just think it needs to really specify which areas that they're going to be spent.
Who else would agree with that?
Well, I agree with that, but I think also other conditions and disabilities such as autism are not catered for enough. I mean, I work in autism, and I know that the measures aren't there to assist, particularly the more challenging people.
So you'd like to see more money in the NHS for social care, for disability, for mental health as well. Let me ask you this question then. Would you be prepared to see your own taxes go up to fund better provision of these services? Just raise your hand so we get a sense.
One of the things I was
That's amazing. All of you are saying now that you'd be prepared to pay more taxes.
As long as we can be confident that it is being spent properly, and it's not being misspent in different areas.
It's like the alcohol duty being frozen, I think, is a mistake, because that's a revenue stream that we can get. It's a luxury, you know, people can afford it or they can't. And I think to freeze it, to sort of go for the bottom end and then to freeze the alcohol duty, for me, smells of a vote winner, because a lot of the people, because you mentioned whiskey, so specifically that sort of thing, but then also I think it maybe sends out the wrong message where you're trying to get people to drink responsibly. We have a problem, you know, we're not really addressing it.
And you say this because you mentioned to me you're a drinker and a driver. I know not at the same time, but you do both, and yet you disagree with the freeze on duty.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously the fuel is slightly different because of the industry and everything, and I understand that. But I do definitely think that the tax and duty on alcohol should have been increased.
So I find that extraordinary. Did the Chancellor then miss a trick? If you've all said you don't mind paying more taxation, you've all said that as long as it's going in the right place. So he could have actually raised money to pay for the things that you all want today.
Well, he's a politician, isn't he? He's got to be very careful.
I think
he can't do what he maybe wants to do. Raising taxes would you know, perhaps lose him an election or something like that.
I think most people expect alcohol to go up. I think it's almost a given. And I think to not put it up is almost like a sort of, oh, but nobody really goes, oh, that's brilliant. I don't pay 2 pence more for a... But if you'd raised £10 billion to spend on the NHS, then we would have all gone, OK, fair enough.
People are much more socially aware as well, aren't they? So people have a better understanding of how that money could be better spent on, you know, our public servants, our public sector, right across the board.
Let me just ask you a really unfair question. At the end of today, who would feel inclined to vote for this budget, to vote Conservative at the next election if it were called next week, on the basis of what you've heard in the budget?
Well, I would.
Just put your hand up. OK. Who would say they've been put off by what they've heard today? And we've got 4 undecideds. Thank you all very much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.